In the cold season of 1857, 4 women disappeared from a distant religious colony in Utah. No tracks were seen in the snow. The ground remained undisturbed. Their shared husband, named Ezekiel Whitmore, explained they had traveled eastward to support relatives. But such a journey was impossible during that frozen month. For 6 decades, leaders within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints preserved all records regarding the case inside private archives. In 1920, men working on a new building unearthed something dark, buried beneath the ground where they planned to raise a new worship place. They found items that forced church officials to examine a terrifying event hidden deep in the roots of their pioneer past. What emerged altered everything local people believed regarding belief, kinship, and the real price of spiritual obedience. Before describing the full chain of events, understand one truth. This tale is not light. This place is not ordinary. What happened here left scars deeper than time. If curiosity guides your spirit, stay present. If truth scares you, perhaps leave now. The land called Utah during 1847 stretched far with no borders. Harsh, dry soil lay trapped between jagged mountain ranges. When Brigham Young gazed over the vast plain and declared those famous words, "This is the place," he stared at endless emptiness. Still, for his group of believers, the wilderness meant safety, freedom, a chance to follow sacred teachings, without threat or attack. A man named Ezekiel Whitmore entered that region during the second migration wave. His arrival came late in September. His caravan lacked good preparation. No decent housing, little food. A skilled woodworker from Vermont, he had accepted the faith in 1843 after hearing the founder speak. His devotion ran deep. What marked him as different was not just his profession or his timing. It was his household. He brought 4 women with him, all lawfully married under the faith's private spiritual system, which embraced many wives when first preached. Sarah, the oldest spouse, stayed married to Ezekiel for nearly a decade. She could not have children. Church teaching suggested women unable to give birth could still reach the highest reward if they accepted other women into the home. Sarah herself chose the second wife. Her name was Rebecca. She read books in more than one language and asked too many questions which made most men uncomfortable. Yet Ezekiel appeared to respect her mind. The third woman, Mary, joined them while expecting a child. Her mother and father had both passed away before the journey west. She viewed this group as her last family. Ruth, the final wife, barely reached adulthood. Her family perished in earlier regional violence, and church elders had arranged her union with Ezekiel for protection. They all settled far from others. The place became known as Mill Creek, though no official maps marked it yet. Their cabin stood near a stream that flowed year-round. Ezekiel said he chose the area for crops, but neighbors suspected privacy mattered more to him than plants. His construction was impressive. Thick logs formed outer walls. Stones supported the floor. Each woman received her own space. He built carefully and followed every rule men in that religion used to avoid jealousy among spouses. His closest neighbors lived several miles away. By late autumn, snow already fell. Winds howled across the peaks. Still, the Whitmore home looked stable. One bishop came by in early December. His name was William Curtis. He kept 2 journals, one for public reading, one locked away. In his official church notes, he praised Ezekiel's house. He called it a place of order, calm, and spiritual discipline. But his hidden diary revealed unease. He described the wives as acting almost robotic, speaking in turns, standing together like parts of one body. He noticed strange cuts along their arms. Each claimed accidents caused the wounds, but every mark matched in size and depth. Cold wind covered the land. Deep ice blocked travel. Most residents stayed indoors until spring. On December 19th, men hunting in the hills passed near Ezekiel's land. They stopped briefly, shared meat, and spoke with two women. Sarah and Rebecca accepted the gift kindly, but declined invitations for holiday prayer. They said their household would worship privately. Then silence. Nobody from that home appeared again. Time passed. January arrived. On the 8th day, Ezekiel reached the central settlement. Those who saw him said he looked hollow, thin, wild-eyed, clothes dirty, beard tangled. He asked to meet Bishop Curtis alone. Inside that cabin, he spoke of visions. He said Sarah received heavenly instruction to leave for Missouri to help her imaginary sibling. He insisted she felt pulled so strongly, she left instantly with travelers moving through the valley. The bishop grew doubtful. Who could travel east during the harshest weeks of winter? And Sarah never mentioned any sibling before. When asked further questions, Ezekiel stumbled. First he claimed religious men helped her leave. Then he changed his version and spoke about mountain hunters who knew secret paths through frozen terrain. His fingers shook. He avoided eye contact. Most strangely, he warned the bishop not to visit the cabin. He said his other wives entered a period of spiritual silence. They could not be seen or spoken to. In his personal diary, Bishop Curtis wrote these lines: "Brother Whitmore speaks of holy voices, but I suspect he hides something human and terrible. His confusion smells more of guilt than sorrow." 3 weeks moved forward. On January 30th, Ezekiel returned again. This time, his story changed. He now said Rebecca also departed toward eastern lands. She felt a sacred pull to teach young minds in far-off schools. The bishop demanded to know who traveled during that month. Ezekiel's words lost all order. He spoke about hidden messages, divine demands, and unseen paths. Curtis had listened enough. He gathered a group of men and set out for the homestead. Deep snow blocked roads, but they reached the cabin by February 3rd. What they found sent chills through each man's heart. Ezekiel welcomed them, but his warmth felt rehearsed. He said Mary and Ruth had also left. According to him, hunters escorted them just days earlier. Rooms looked cleaned, too cleaned. Clothing vanished, trinkets gone, yet furniture stayed. Kitchen tools untouched. One man peeked behind the cabin and saw signs of fresh digging. Ezekiel claimed he was making space to bury roots and preserve food, but frost covered the land. Earth should have been impossible to break. His explanation came with anger. He said hard labor showed faith. That night, the visitors stayed indoors. Several said they felt watched. The space lacked usual life sounds. No whispering, no footfalls, no cooking, no laughter. Supper tasted like dried rations. No bread, no butter. Just dry scraps. Then one man, Thomas Garrett, heard muffled crying under the floor. Others dismissed it. They blamed wind or wood creaking. But Garrett believed the sound belonged to real women in pain. The next morning, they left, more confused than ever. In his diary, Bishop Curtis wrote, "Brother Whitmore's soul may carry shadows too heavy for daylight. I fear that in the name of righteousness, sin has routed itself where no light shines." Through the remainder of that long season, Ezekiel returned to the village alone. His posture weakened. His eyes sank deeper. He mentioned receiving letters from his wives. He claimed they felt joy in their Eastern lives. However, no written evidence ever reached the bishop's hands. Each time, Ezekiel gave vague reasons. Once, he said the notes burned in his fireplace. Another time, he whispered they contained personal matters unsuitable for outside reading. Quiet gossip began, murmurs in corners. Faces exchanged worried glances. Some villagers assumed he sent the women away, perhaps due to struggle or emotional distance. Others feared something darker. They recalled his trembling words, his altered timeline, his increasing isolation. Then, as warmer winds arrived, snow retreated. Spring touched the land with gentle fingers. Curtis gathered courage and returned to the cabin. Dust coated every surface. No footprints showed movement. Windows stayed shut. Every bed stood cold. Closets looked emptied too quickly, not naturally. Inside Rebecca's room, the bishop discovered something hidden beneath a broken wooden board. A leather-covered journal. The final message written inside sent chills crawling along his spine. He says sacrifice binds forever, but I believe his messages rise from shadow, not sky. Behind the structure, the ground Ezekiel once described. As his future storage pit revealed another truth. Torn fabric. A silver ring matching Sarah's wedding token. Pieces of belongings once treasured by the 4 women. Fire pits stood nearby, arranged not for warmth, but for meaning. In the ashes, scraps of sacred writings not officially recognized by any temple appeared. Lines hinted at blood, eternal sealing, and divine loyalty through offering. Some passages twisted original teachings into something unfamiliar and dangerous. Inside Ezekiel's chamber, another hiding place held notebooks. Each page showed descending clarity. Early writings mentioned trust, structure, divine laws. But as pages continued, the voice changed. Scribbles, circles, repeated words, mentions of higher devotion. Final sentences praised pain, purity, and complete surrender. Curtis made his choice. He reported nothing publicly. No mention in sermons. No talk with followers. The church already walked thin ice with outside rulers. If terrible actions came to light, enemies of the faith would strike hard. So everything remained buried. Files sealed, land closed, all names scrubbed. Families told others the women moved east. But whispers never died. Time passed. Generations shifted. Memories faded from official records, but remained inside older minds. In 1920, new homes and buildings expanded outward. Growth demanded change. Planners picked that old site for a new gathering hole. They had forgotten, but the earth had not. Machines uncovered a strange box made of stone, perfectly square, closed tight. Inside, 4 garments folded with great care. Each dress matched a specific woman. Alongside, personal tools, brushes, pins, tiny hand mirrors. In each pile rested a pouch. Inside each, a letter written in separate hands. One shared hope. Another expressed pride. One letter mentioned a child, unborn but treasured. Another used poetic words to embrace glory through final action. All 4 notes told the same truth. These women had chosen their path, not forced, not dragged, convinced, converted to something far removed from the world outside. These writings horrified Elder James Tanner, who led the spiritual review. His thoughts could not rest. These words felt sincere. Devotion radiated from the paper, but so did fear. Why would 4 intelligent women believe that ending their lives step by step led to paradise? He searched ancient records, found the old sealed files, found Curtis's real thoughts, found mentions of other families. A pattern formed. Between 1847 and 1855, others had vanished. Similar tales, similar excuses. Each story involved husbands deeply trusted by the local religious community. Men praised for dedication, yet always followed by disappearance. No questions asked. Elder Tanner studied the signs. He found mentions of letters sent between remote places, coded phrases, vague references to completion, faith testing. and sacred bonds. He uncovered an organized group hiding beneath the surface. They did not follow official orders. They followed a man named Jeremiah Blackwood, a leader who claimed he received personal truth from the earliest prophets. This group twisted teachings. They said real belief demanded everything, even lives of those most loved. Tanner dug deeper. Near the same place the stone box sat, workers uncovered a second room, larger, deeper, made from solid rock. Symbols covered the walls. Shapes not found in any public scripture. At the center stood an altar. Marks on its surface showed what once happened there. 4 smaller stone beds circled the main structure, each carved with names, dates, verses. Blood analysis confirmed human remains. Below each platform lay another surprise: 4 preserved bodies. The 4 wives, their deaths matched in nature. No struggle. 1 careful wound per chest. All dressed in white robes stitched with symbols. Burial rituals had followed specific steps. The ceremony left no room for chance. It demanded precision. Nearby shelves held tools, blades, cloth, writings, instructions. The location functioned not just as burial space, but as a shrine, a sacred space built for repeated use. More records appeared. Engraved tablets described ceremonies from beginning to end. Final conversations, final meals, final thoughts. The women expressed peace, gratitude, belief. Each tablet praised the person leading the action, called him chosen, named him light-bearer. The evidence pointed toward something beyond Ezekiel. More names surfaced, more places, other valleys, distant camps, hidden rooms, more letters, more rituals. Men speaking of submission, women leaving notes full of trust and trembling faith. The group called itself the Order of Eternal Sacrifice. Their beliefs claimed normal marriage was only a step. Real reward required full offering. The list of missing individuals continued growing. No public mention ever occurred. Leaders sealed records, moved files, reassigned workers. The land returned to silence. But the stones remembered. Elder Tanner knew what he uncovered could shatter countless beliefs. His team found maps. The charts showed where families lived. Each mark indicated more than location. It predicted who might vanish next. Each dot whispered danger. The inner chamber held the group's core teachings, all written on smooth rock plates. These stones explained how the group began. They traced their origin to private talks held long ago. A man named Blackwood claimed secret knowledge. He said older laws, hidden laws, demanded loyalty through action. These actions required not money, not property, but people, relatives, close ones, children, wives, anyone fully trusted. According to these carved instructions, Ezekiel received private teachings years earlier. Blackwood selected him, watched his progress, praised his choices, prepared him for the ceremony. The women had no known family in the West. Their ties had been cut. That made them perfect targets, isolated, alone but faithful. Step by step, Ezekiel believed. Then he prepared. Everything had purpose. Everything followed the script. He began in December, continued through February. Each day, he kept records. Each action matched the planned calendar. No deviation, no pause. Each woman spent her last hours in preparation. Letters written, robes cleaned, words memorized. The sequence followed ancient patterns no longer practiced anywhere. But to the order, these moments felt divine. Holy, chosen. Elder Tanner also found tablets containing the last words spoken by Sarah, Rebecca, Mary, and Ruth. Each woman spoke with calm tone. Each one smiled, according to the written account. Each thanked the one holding the blade. Each one offered herself willingly. They believed this would unite them forever beyond the grave. However, Elder Tanner's team discovered the chamber held more than 4 graves. Beneath hidden layers, additional spaces existed. 8 more people had been buried. Other families, other communities. The names linked back to old reports of families who had lost members without answers. That room beneath Mill Creek was not the only one. In the years that followed, hidden agents working under secret orders found more such places. Each chamber told the same tale. A faithful man, several missing loved ones. A letter, a robe, a blade, a sealed stone chamber. In every case, the same markings appeared. The same steps followed, the same phrases used. These discoveries revealed the group functioned like a hidden web, quiet, spread across wide territory. Every person involved kept secrets. Every step, carefully executed. Elder Tanner faced a problem. He brought his findings to the highest office. The meeting lasted hours. Silence fell heavy after he finished. Leaders sat still, holding their thoughts. Then, a choice was made. The truth would not reach the world. Archives would keep everything. Files locked, words hidden. Chambers filled with stone and buried forever. People would not know. Those involved swore to speak nothing. Workers transferred. Reports erased. The ground where the chamber had been found would not hold buildings anymore. It would remain empty. Grass would grow. Time would pass. But memories stayed. Still, Elder Tanner worried. Among the tablets, one spoke of surviving members. Some men had escaped, moved west, settled in towns outside church control. The order had sent copies of their texts across mountains, deserts, rivers. Instructions survived. New names appeared in old records. Families missing. Reports ignored. Rituals continued in shadows. At one mining town in Nevada, another chamber surfaced. Tools, symbols, bodies. Dates pointed to 1875. That meant the group worked for nearly 30 years after the first 4 women passed away. Quiet investigations continued. Special agents searched distant lands. Some group members were removed. Some convinced to stop. Others vanished. But the pattern never completely ended. At least 15 known sites connected to this group existed across the Western Territories. Over 200 names appeared in lists, each person tied to the order, each one gone, each case unresolved in public files. When church authorities tracked down the last known leader, Blackwood himself, they found him living under a new name. He had aged, but still believed, still preached, still convinced others to follow his vision. In that camp, his last followers had performed 12 more ceremonies. Blackwood's capture ended the movement officially. However, the written plans uncovered in his belongings suggested more cells might remain hidden. His writings also mentioned spreading the teachings to other fringe groups. His words had influence beyond Utah, beyond religion. The group believed their work would one day be honored, not hidden. Blackwood's final letter instructed others to protect their records, to continue in secret. He promised recognition after death, praise in eternity, glory through silence. When Elder Tanner finished reviewing all evidence, he sealed it. The materials were stored far beneath the city, protected by locks, stone, and silence. Only the highest ranks could see the truth. Memorial prayers were held, private, no names, spoken aloud, no graves marked. The public never knew. Families of victims were never told the real story. Official records claimed people had traveled east or relocated for service. But the names remained on confidential lists. They were remembered quietly. Elder Tanner never spoke of this again. In his old age, he wrote a single sentence inside a private notebook. I walked through darkness, holding only duty. That notebook rested beside him when he passed. Today, shopping centers and homes cover the area once known as Mill Creek. Families live normal lives. Children play in yards. Churches stand nearby. But deep below, sealed forever, rest chambers built. For belief turned twisted. Some say during winter, voices ride the wind. A weeping sound, faint but persistent. Some workers refused to stay late at certain construction sites. They claimed unease, cold that pierced bone. Others dismissed these feelings, called them fantasy. But the truth does not forget. The story of Ezekiel Whitmore and his 4 wives continues to haunt records locked behind stone. Whether one day these secrets will surface depends on future leaders. Will they choose honesty? Or protect old scars behind polished smiles? The tale warns all who listen. Devotion, when mixed with blindness, can birth horror. Faith, without question, can shape monsters. And sometimes, truth lies deeper than any grave. If this story stirred your thoughts, consider who else may have vanished from history's pages. What other truths sleep under cities, deserts, and churches? Are you prepared to know? Do you believe full honesty helps, or should some chapters stay unread? Share this story with someone brave. Leave your thoughts below, and stay near. There are more hidden tales waiting to rise.